Curtis A reached out to me, said make a theme song for my show. Said alright, just give me all the details, man. And my homie says he don't know. Well, if you're gonna pay me big bucks, cause I might should have something to say. He said, you know what I bring, I'm the customizing king, nothing else matters anyway. So is he gonna have guests? I don't know. Is he gonna go live? I don't know. What time will it be? What will you see? I'm pretty much in the dark, but I can guarantee he'll be customizing action figures, getting paint all on his fingers. It's art by Akerman. It's art by Akerman. Tips and tricks and conversation, sharing his gift with every nation. It's art by Akerman. Art by Akerman. You best get ready, cause now it's time for Art by Akerman.
All right, folks, welcome back to another How'd They Do That? This is the series where we talk to different artists in our community about what they do, how they create art, and any tips that they may have. I know it's been a few weeks since we've had one. Had Joe Lanta convention, had some traveling for work, but I'm excited to get back into this. And we've got a talented photographer that I want to bring on and talk to today. So we'll just get him right on, and it is Alex Lostak. And I will pull up your IG here at the bottom, which is Ordos_escape, correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So hi, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. This will be fun. So, we've had a few photographers on here, given points and talked about, different techniques and things that they, do. Some folks are doing like a whole setup and taking a series of shots on a tripod. Some people are kind of hand doing it. Some people are going outside and taking kind of nature shots. So excited to kind of get into yours and see anything, the kind of tips and stuff that you'd have for folks. So, I know you've got some other stuff besides like Mythic Legions and figures here and stuff, but obviously that's kind of my main audience. So that's most of what I pulled up for slideshows. But how did you kind of get into the Horseman stuff in the first place? Like what brought you to the, mythics and stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was probably about like 4 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, started like seeing stuff on Instagram where I was like really curious about. I was like, oh, what are these? These are super interesting. Was like into fantasy, obviously, and so was like super intrigued. But stayed a little bit away because like my normal collecting focus is like 1/18 Star Wars, so like there's like a very big difference in scale there.
Right.
So my first figure was actually a troll. And I bought the troll to photograph with my Star Wars figures because the scale was
lines.
just like, like it would just made it that much more massive, and like creatures are such a big part of Star Wars. But then that kind of got me onto just perusing the Big Bad Toy Store site and like seeing all the stuff that was available there.
And then
so
it's the rabbit hole, huh?
Yeah, it was a rabbit hole originally. I had one of these display cases. I was like, all right, one shelf will be Legions, and then it became 1/4 of these 2 display cases, and now it's a full thing. So just kind of spiraled from there, and they're super fun to photograph, especially with all the paintwork and everything. And so that's what got me into it.
That's awesome. I know there's a lot of toy photography out there, but it really, the stuff with the Mythic Legions just feels so realistic. And I know, there's been some knock on the Horsemen over the years about their articulation. And I know they've changed a few things recently and tried some double jointed and things like that. But I just feel like the layered aspect of the armor and stuff like that really hides the joints well and makes them photograph as if it's something out of a movie or something. They just look nice.
Oh, 100%. I think the other thing too for me is like, I think all of the IP that the Horsemen have developed is like awesome and amazing, but coming into it not knowing that and just like getting the figure as a figure was like super free. Like especially coming from like a Star Wars perspective where like I get these blocks of like, oh, I don't want to shoot this in this way because that's like these characters actually never interacted or whatever. And then to just get like a Legions figure and just be like, I can make this guy do whatever I want him to do, and I have no ties. And even the lore that does exist is loose enough where, like, if you want to stay within it, there's like infinite amount of possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's why there's so much customizing within Mythic Legions too, right? Because yeah, there is a story, there's bios and things like that, but it, like you said, it's loose enough that you can kind of come up with your own creation and just fit it right in with everything else. I would say probably 70% of my collection is stuff that's either pop and swapped or painted or customized in some way, like, and it's okay, it works, right? So
Yeah, 100%. My like first collecting goal with Legions was I ran a D&D campaign that um that particular campaign lasted 4 years, and it started right around the time I was right before I got into Mythics, and my first collecting goal was I want to make customs of every player in my party.
that's
And
awesome.
like so I 100% with you.
Well, good timing for that because they're obviously have the role playing game
Mm,
out this upcoming year. They've already shown the Paladin Cleric that they had at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm sure there's going to be other character type packs that go with that, so that people can build out their parties. And I know, I've been playing D&D now for I guess a year and a half or so,
mhm.
and have done some testing for the role playing game. And it's one of those things that if you kind of live in this Four Horsemen world and you're playing D&D, you want to create your character, right? Like you want to,
100, yeah,
yeah, you want to
exactly.
see it come to life, right? So,
Yeah, and to have a line that literally is catered towards popping and swapping and customizing your way to do it is like it's such a perfect match. I'm
oh yeah.
excited to try out the game.
I think, the biggest struggle I think they're going to have is getting folks that are outside of this world, folks that aren't buying Horseman product
Mm,
already, to kind of get into it and know about it and learn
hmm.
about it. But once they do, man, I think it's going to be game on. I think there's going to be
Oh
folks that
yeah.
maybe even aren't even toy collectors, but that
Hmm.
are just huge into role playing, and then they get into this and are like, oh yeah, I want to I want to make
Yeah.
all these
Who doesn't?
characters.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a
So
physical manifestation of their hero?
absolutely. So. Well, let's get into it. Let me pull up the slideshow here and throw us down at the bottom. So, I usually start with kind of a photo that I feel is going to kind of catch people's eye on the thumbnail, and so I thought this was a good one. You've got this the Xylernian guard, and he's had better days.
hundred
He's
percent.
yeah, he's having a rough one here. So, tell me a little bit about what's going on with this guy.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where the idea from this came from. This was at a period. So I shoot everything inside, so like more studio style. And as a byproduct of that, I would do a lot of stuff that either was like reminiscent of like golden or blue hour.
Mm-hmm.
So like when light is softer around sunset and just after.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was really interested in starting to explore how people were able to replicate bright daylight. Like how do you fake high noon?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's where kind of part of the goal of this was can I make it look like it's the middle of the day and there's just like this intense battle going on. And then um I think at the time this was about when I got this figure, and I had hit my like critical threshold of having a lot of Legion's arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And was just like, oh, it'd be interesting to do kind of that like failed final stand. um and so got a bunch of blue tack together, and just essentially pinned him every single way I could and tried to frame him with like the other dead soldiers around him, both on his side and then also on the goblin side.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's like you can see that struggle. Like he's still keeping trying to go forward, but man, he's definitely suffered a lot of abuse here. So, let's go to this next one. So it's kind of sticking with some of the Xylernia stuff. Couple really awesome shots here. You got one with Artemis here on top of a troll, and then Bardrick looking all heroic. So yeah, tell me about these shots.
Yeah. This one on the right was interesting. Um, Again, trying to like play with light to figure out how do you replicate different times of day.
Mm-hmm.
So this I really wanted to feel like night, and I think Bardrick's such a um, intimidating and like powerful figure that I think like finding a way to isolate him as much as possible. This was also before I had any. This was right around when I got into Legions, so I didn't have any dioramas yet. Everything I had was Star
Gotcha.
Wars related, and so the backdrop is just a black piece of. It's either a black piece of foam core or it's a black T-shirt that I like thumbtacked into the wall, just to like get that drop off.
Mm-hmm.
And then just some soft lighting from the side and a little bit of fog to add that atmosphere, but really wanted to go for that like final blow, all hopes lost, sort of feel.
Yeah, it definitely gives you that presence of this being at nighttime. It's kind of a night battle. There's a little moonlight or something. So that's a good little tip if folks don't have dioramas, just kind of, use what you have, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially like when it comes to fantasy, you can kind of just lean into the wilderness aspect of it. So if you want to shoot outside, take a pair of scissors, cut the grass down in your yard to make it
That's a
scale
good tip.
correctly.
Yeah.
Or if I know like Michaels and Hobby Lobby always have like what is essentially like table decor or um, vase fillers and things like that, which are super helpful for like replicating natural environments. But if you don't want to do any of that, just light it well and make it really dark in the back and just have a march through the night.
Yeah, it looks awesome. What about the Artemis here?
Yeah, I think I came up with this because I found these trees in the back at Target for like $1 a piece. They're
Nice.
like, this was like around Christmas time, and so wanted to, yeah, do something a little bit more wintry and use them. And again, this is before I had any dio pieces,
Mm-hmm.
so just like kind of stacked them in a way where like I think the walls in that office were white, so like it just kind of looked like an overcast day. Um, and so just kind of embracing what I have had available to like make that little bit of a forest feel. Um, and then for the actual posing itself, I remember being very difficult to get her to stand
Balance on
in
the
that
troll.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but another fun thing that is really helpful, especially when you're trying to like shoot a dead character like this, is like take the head off the peg and just lay it on the ground, because as long as you're covering up that ball joint,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of get it to do whatever you want. And like if she did take down this big thing, it's got no muscle fighting back, so its head will twist willy-nilly. So
That's a good tip. I didn't even think of that when I looked at this photo, that his head's probably detached because it wouldn't cock back that far. That's a nice
yeah,
little tip there.
yeah.
I would kind of like to see this recreated with an ice troll and then Thalen Frostbow. Like, I think Thalen standing on an ice troll with that same
Oh yeah,
background would be freaking cool.
that
So,
would be that would be awesome. That's a great idea.
those two, just like I was as a kid, I always loved anything that was like winter themed. So any kind of vehicles or characters, and those two are the ones in the line to me currently that are like, when it starts snowing outside, we may get snow. Sometimes we don't get snow at all during the year, but if we do, it's like 1 week, and I'm like, I just want to get out my ice troll and Thalen and take some photos. And I'm horrible at photography, but I still want to go out there with them. So.
Oh yeah, I love all the northern stuff, like the last or the few waves that we've gotten, that have started to like really like push further and further
Mm-hmm.
north. I can't wait to get that stuff in hand, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, that environment is just, it's so wide open. So again, it's like very free. Like what all could be happening up here? It's like so mystical.
Yeah, I mean, Nieve should be out sometime this year. She looks awesome. And then,
Hmm.
obviously that whole Isomol wave is supposed to be way up north. So, and even Ashes has the what is it, the Shadow Centaur that kind of has that color
Hmm.
scheme.
And
So,
the frost ogre,
oh
right,
yeah,
is in
Frost
that
Ogre.
one.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it looks
those will be
great.
so fun.
All right, let's take a look. Kind of sticking with some of the Xylona stuff still, and even some customs here. So, first question: Are you a customizer as well, or did you pick these pieces up from somebody, or what do you got going on here?
Yeah. So everything in the shot on the right, I picked up. I've done a little bit of painting.
Mhm.
But um, my stuff doesn't hold up to a macro lens in front of it. So,
Gotcha.
um, particularly if I have to show an eye. But yeah. So these were. So I think the frog is from Borderland Horde. I
Mhm.
forget who I got the cute little forest creature head from, but
That's
everything in this photo on the right.
that's actually one of the Jesslyn heads, which is it was made for my buddy Jesse from Shooting the Shelf. So
Oh, sweet.
yeah, this is he likes the Fuzzmonk characters like Thistlethorn, and
Mm-hmm.
so this was our
Yeah,
way to kind of get, there's only one of those really, and
right.
so this was the way to try to get some more of that type of creature into it. So Emil actually sculpted this for Wolf King Customs.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I love this set. I actually, so the story behind this shot is everything in that photo I got at Legion's Con last year.
Oh,
So that's
cool.
like I think that's the con exclusive like body and stuff. And my
Yep.
buddy Chris and I were messing around in the hotel room at night after the show, and I realized that that skirt piece that's on I'm blanking on their names now, but the monk character,
Yeah,
um
the gas bar.
yeah, Gaspar, if you just put it on the like dwarf sized body, looked like a cape. And so I kind of realized, I think I posted it in the Cabal last year, but I kind of accidentally created like a national park ranger figure.
Nice.
And so I haven't touched it since. It's still in my shelf in that exact same. It's like now one of my favorite figures. And I got the frog from Borderland Horde at the show, and
Do you
they're
know who
attached at the
painted
hip.
either of these?
Um, I think uh the frog came painted from them,
Okay,
and they also did the sculpt. So I would imagine that they
somebody
also
on their
painted
team.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do a better job at Legion's Con this year of documenting who I buy heads from so that I can give like proper credit, because I always feel bad when I post a photo if I
Yeah.
don't remember who it was off the top of my head, knowing who to tag. People are so good about that in the
I
community.
I try my best, but at this point, I've been in it for 4 or 5 years, and I've got some parts that I bought like when I first got into the line. So I'll put together a custom now, and I'm like, I have no idea who did this. And sometimes the company that did it is no longer even in existence. Like they've moved on to other things. They're
Yeah.
making their own toy lines or something. So yeah. But so is this one of those where as far as the setup and stuff, like,
Hmm.
yeah, tell us how this is going on.
Yeah, so this was the result of a trip to Michael's. I've been on the hunt for a long time to find like convincing grass. And so these were some grass mats that I think were for like making a centerpiece of a table.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought some like plastics, like long leaves or vines, I guess would probably be the right word, and
Mm-hmm.
then cut them up and stuck them into foam core to kind of create the like bushy trees in the back.
Oh, nice.
Um, and again, like trying to, I don't have any like really good looking trees or anything like that. So just like, I guess one tip I would have is like if your background's not the best, um, use your aperture to your advantage. So like bring your aperture down, get that stuff a little bit blurry so that the idea comes through. Because also most of people are going to be looking at everything on phones, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to, people scroll so fast on Instagram. They're probably not going to like look at this super tight and be like, oh, are those actually, there's no real branches there. You just want that like full green effect.
Right.
And if you do some like convincing stuff of like what is actually in focus, you can kind of get the idea. So the idea was kind of like he's out of the forest walking through this meadow. Um, this was meant to look like nighttime. So he's like almost looking up at the moon. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
know a lot of folks use like the LCD monitors and stuff in the
Hmm.
background, and same kind of thing. Like, we'll put a little bit of blur to the background, and it also helps to bring your eyes towards the characters, which is really the main
Right.
part of the photo. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I liked how, so I have him, he needs a name. I don't have a name for him yet, but he needs a name. Uh,
I forget what they call that character on the Wolf King Customs. I know it's one of the Jestlin heads, but I can't remember the name on that one. So
we can ceremoniously name him Jesse until
there you
further
go.
notice. Um, but uh, have him right on the third, so like using the rule of thirds there to pull your eye where it naturally leads, and then keeping the frog a little bit behind him to make sure that you see him and he's part of the scene, but he's not the main focus.
Now I understand what you're saying with the thirds, but can you break that down for folks that may not know?
Yeah, so if you divide your so your viewfinder, so if you're using an actual camera or if you're using the app on whatever phone you have, whatever you're viewing, that preview of the image is your viewfinder, and if you break that down, break the frame down into like a grid that comes out to about 9 rectangles,
Hmm.
you'll end up with being able to divide your frame into like a third, a third, and a third. Um, and what's pleasing to our eye is having something at the intersection of 2/3. So if you're at the edge, if there's a line coming to create that section here, like if I almost use
Hmm.
my camera to represent this line is one of those thirds. And here's another. So in portrait, if you're looking at it, it's a little bit thinner. So he's sitting right on the line of intersecting those 2/3.
Yeah, and I know at least on cell phones, when if you like go to zoom in on a photo, a lot of times it'll actually put that grid over it, so you can kind of
Yeah.
see what that looks like. But okay, cool. And I found out
Yeah.
the
And I
name of that character is Scrumble. So
Scrumble. We'll call
yes,
him Jesse Scrumble. That'll be his name.
there you go. Now the one on the left. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
this when I was putting this together, but after you talking about some of your other photography, my guess is this is a Star Wars dio. Am I right?
It's a good guess. It's
Okay.
not. It's a I love like ancient Egyptian history,
Okay.
and so I have um I think I originally bought this to shoot a like NECA Nathan Drake figure as if he's like diving into a tomb. It's an Egyptian tomb by Extreme Sets.
Oh,
So this is
okay.
like one of my this is actually a 1/12 scale um diorama, and then the big like pot in the background is actually like a from Egypt. It's an organ jar
Oh, that's
that I
cool.
got in Egypt a long time ago. And so
That's an
yeah, it
interesting piece to put into a photo.
yeah, well, it's supposed to be he's in like this big ancient tomb and kind of exploring it, because I think his bio is related to him like going out and like seeking knowledge, and he's a bit of a historian. So I
Mm.
thought he fit really well, and the colors really work well together. Like even though it's
Oh
sand
yeah.
and he's more like woodland character, I really
Mm.
loved the way that like the orange in his armor comes out. He's like so autumnal, and it just kind of like all came
It
together
it does make
nicely.
the like his armor pop a lot more.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and that's a fun thing you can. It happens naturally sometimes. Like we were talking about, like the northern characters. Like a lot of times they'll have the icy blue, and then you put them in that setting, and um, it looks really pleasing. I don't know if there's like science behind it, but like since it happens in nature, I kind of wonder if like it makes sense in our brains when we see those things line up. Like you see a photograph of a polar bear and it's like all snow around it, and you're like, oh, that looks so awesome. I don't know if part of that is just
we
like
just make
it
those
naturally
connections.
feels,
Yeah.
yeah. But I try to use like the characters as like inspiration for what setting they should be in, just even in like the clothes they wear and the color of like either their fur or their scales or whatever.
Very cool. So now we get a little darker. Um, so yeah, tell me a little bit about these photos here.
Um, yeah, so I think the one on the left, uh, I think translucent plastic is so cool, but I don't have very much of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to do a photo that really utilized the transparent head on that Vorgus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I couldn't. I think I was playing with him on my desk and was just like kept just thinking about how intimidating he was. Um, and so I just wanted to kind of create like a hero portrait shot that just like really leaned into the evil and the blood armor. Um, and so the setup for this was pretty simple. I think this was also pre-diorama days. So I think we've got that black t-shirt or flag in the background, and then these pebbles are just pebbles from that you put in a fish tank.
Okay.
So just like black shiny pebbles. They look pretty convincing anytime you want to do like the floor of a cave or for Star Wars stuff, they just look like a crazy planet.
So you just like
Um,
put it down on a tabletop and then like scoop it back into the container when you're done.
yeah, it's I don't use them much because they're terrible cleanup.
Gotcha.
Um, but when I do, they work well. So I try to like I'll be like, okay, we're gonna use anytime it's like rocks or sand or whatever. It's like, all right, let's come up with like three ideas. So
There
so
you go.
that because I'm gonna put this out. I'm gonna delay cleaning it up for probably 3 days. So let's get our use out of it. Um, and then yeah, I think the skulls were kind of just this idea of like, well, who are the souls and bodies that he's almost like sucked the energy and blood out of to fuel the armor.
That's awesome. I also like that you've got him holding the helmet by the horn, which I think is just cool. Like, it's one of those that figure came with, a couple different head options that are all cool. And it's like, well, which one do you choose? And so here you're able to kind of bring in two of them together because he's holding the helmet, and then you've got that translucent head.
Yeah. I like doing that a lot. It honestly, it's honestly a byproduct of like not having the best like storage solutions. So like
Mhm.
anytime I get a knight that also has a human head, I'll display them on the shelf holding the helmet. So that way I've
Gotcha.
got them both right there.
You don't have to
Um,
stage the
yeah,
uh the,
and
the
it,
other stuff in a storage container. Got it.
yeah, and so but it like they look cool like that too. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
utilizing. I think I just took this off the shelf and um, he was pretty much posed at the time I put him in front of the lens.
It's awesome. And then the Red Death one here, I think is fantastic. I don't know what you have that's like framing him here. Like it looks like you put
Mhm.
something in front. I don't know what it is, but it's super cool.
Yeah, this one was so fun. I think I think everybody loves Figura Obscura because of like the learning that you get to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whenever these figures drop, and um, what I like to do is whenever it comes in the mail, the first thing I do is read everything in the booklet
Mm-hmm.
before I allow myself to open the figure. So I have all of that context. Um, and so as I'm like looking at it and seeing the different features of it, like it's almost like tying it back to everything I just read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and reading that story for Mask of the Red Death, I like the scene at the end where they like open the door and like see the like reveal happens. Um, I just thought was such like a vivid image. And
Mm-hmm.
so I kind of wanted to try to recreate that in a certain way of just like if you were to come upon this character and open the door, what does this like tortured soul look like? Um, so that was the idea behind this. So I have the clock in the background. Um, this is in Alex's owning dioramas era. So I do have an actual diorama here where there's a castle. It's like it's one of the Chinese manufacturers that's on Big Bad Toy Store, but it's a big castle wall.
Gotcha.
Um, so doing like the photography technique that's like a frame within a frame. So like if you frame your actual subject inside of something, it's going to guide your eye to it. Um, so have that in the front, and then a red, like a small aperture light, which is just a company that makes lights, but they have I have like a small, I forget the name of it, but the light's only like this big.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that kind of posted up behind the wall so that you get the red coming in and then blocked off everywhere else so it doesn't leak out. So you can see like the front area is like still that like moonlit light, just enough to give you a little bit of detail.
Yeah.
To kind of create that big contrast between like what's in the doorway, and then the white light kind of lights up that blood slowly creeping towards the lens.
Super cool. So as a photographer, how stoked are you when you see like these accessory pieces like the clock or like the campfire set that's coming out or things like when you start seeing these accessory pieces that you can then use in shots, like how excited do you get for that?
Oh, I'm so stoked. It's awesome. And like it it's almost in a way like figures kind of inspire you to like take photos, but also like accessories can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um like just like with the clock, or I mean, I love a campfire. Like for some reason, if I'm ever like I have to like stop myself because I probably have a few hundred posts on Instagram. I would not be surprised if 20% of them are related to a character sitting around a campfire. So having like a stamped Legion's campfire is going to be so awesome. But yeah, it's great. And especially because like even as you get like diorama pieces, to make something feel real, you need to like fill in the gaps, like there has to be like a little bit of trash on the ground or a rat running in the corner, or if you've got a really cool table, like there should be food on it or beers or whatever. Otherwise it'll look stale or sterile. So yeah, I love all the new accessory packs.
Yeah, and the I know the was a Ghost of Christmas Past had like a lamp post, and the Father Christmas had the tree and the little toys and stuff, like because I look at that stuff when they put it out and I go, not only is this going to be good for that character, but I could see it in other toy lines, right? Like
Yeah.
the cosmic that set that they've got, that accessory set. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I could see that used in G.I. Joe stuff. I could see that used in Star Wars stuff. Like it definitely can cross lines. So
yeah,
like
I think we're going to see that.
I mean, you could use a clock in pretty much anything.
So. Yeah, I think I see people use it anytime someone's doing like a scene of like an office or like a detective or something, like especially when it's in that like 20s 50s era.
Yeah.
The likelihood that this clock is somewhere in the background is pretty high.
That's pretty cool. All right, got a couple kind of nighttime photos. So yeah, talk about these.
Yeah. So the one on the left, so my favorite in like photography that is not toy photography, my like favorite time of day to shoot is blue hour. So like just after the sunset, you get this really cool blue effect that comes through the lens, and lights just look so like warm and inviting. And so this was kind of the idea, the what I was going for from like a lighting perspective was that. So the way I did it was shooting very cold. This was not shot with a blue light. This was shot with just a white light at the coldest temperature, which I guess for explanation for people might be helpful. Like we measure the how orange or blue a light is based on temperature in Kelvin. So like a normal bulb in your house is probably at about like 3,500 Kelvin. A very cool, cold light that's like super, super white, it's probably about like 6,500. And then like the warm, cozy glow is like 3,000 and below. And so the light on this is just a like 6,500 degree Kelvin light. That's like giving that like moonlit effect. And then the small braziers for some like motivated lighting.
And
so,
I'm assuming those are Carver Customs lights.
Yeah.
Because it's the law. If you're gonna do photography,
it's the only option. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good. We were gonna have to take away like your whole Instagram and everything if you weren't, having some
No,
Carver Customs lights in here somewhere. So,
no, I got my first ones at Legion's Con last year, so I'm officially part of the crew.
and then is that the that Gandalf figure with the rooted
Hmm.
hair that came out last year? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the
cool. I like
Hellcat
that.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the idea here that because I always photos always start with a story. What's the story you want to tell? And the idea here was like he's about to pass him off some sort of Dubon's about to go on some like ranger mission, and
hmm
Gandalf's got some important information um, to give him before he goes.
that's really cool. And then over here on the right, obviously you got character that a lot of people have been talking about this year with that Gideon too, that just looks
Hmm.
phenomenal.
It's so
And
cool.
it looks like he's kind of backed up as far as he can go, and these things are coming at him, and he's just trying to fight them off. So
Yeah, this was like again starting with the story, the idea of like a last stand. I think this might be my favorite figure that's come out this year, at least in Legions, and so I wanted to
it's
do
it's
something where
definitely
he's
one of
like
the
the
top. I
focal
mean,
point.
it
I
looks
yeah,
pretty freaking cool. So
yeah, and then like the way it still moves with all of the soft goods. I had that thing just sitting on my desk for probably a month after I got it. I need to photograph it more, but I've definitely played with it a lot.
yeah.
um, but I bought I think two of those undead packs, and so wanted to like use the like combination of their parts and then the blue Hagnon to kind of create this moment of like the light versus the dark, the last stand in the middle of the night sort of deal. So have him surrounded on all sides. It's kind of hard to tell. I probably could have done a better job of putting a specific light on the character, but there's one of those sort of zombies actually reaching through behind at the top of the steps.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I see the arm. Yeah.
yeah, so wanted to like have him surrounded on all sides. And then for the background, I think again we've got the T-shirt on the wall and added some clouds in Photoshop. So.
Very cool. And I think I've seen this Dio on Big Bad Toy Store,
Hmm.
and it's hard to tell sometimes with those things how they're going to scale, because it can say like 112
Yeah.
scale or whatever, but there's very different things. They should use this photo to sell that thing.
As a reference.
Because if I saw this, I would have bought that in a heartbeat. And instead, I kind of sat there and looked at it, and I think I might have even had it in my cart at one point, and I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I just don't know. But this, to me, this would have sold that. So,
Dang. Well, I appreciate that. That's really nice. It's cool because it also the arch at the top is magnetic, so you
oh
can
yeah,
take it off. Yeah, you can take it off and like put it in a different angle, and then the situation looks bigger. And then if you put
oh
some,
wow,
I've done some shots recently where I put this dio just in front of some castle walls that I have,
mm-hmm.
and it kind of gives enough of the effect of like it's part of some like bigger set of ruins. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty versatile. Um,
You might have just sold another one there. So,
they have an extension piece for it that I think I have in my cart that's been in there for a little while that I have not pulled the trigger on.
yeah, you're gonna have people going and buying these and buying the extreme sets. You have people doing a lot of shopping after this. All right, a couple other ones. Obviously, we got this brand new Urzok that is just
Hmm.
amazing. I mean, it you know, as much as I think Arethyr in the past has been kind of the metal character. Like if you look at the line, you're like, this is the most heavy metal.
Yeah.
This Urzok, I think, is now taking that crown. This Urzok is just badass looking. And then the picture on the right, kind of not as intense, very very relaxed moment. So I wanted a kind of a very
That,
intense moment and a
yeah.
relaxed moment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's super metal. I mean, if Arethyr takes the metal cake, he definitely gets like the award for the most brutal for
Yeah,
sure. Like you can just tell you're never gonna have a good time when this guy's around.
right.
Um, but it's so cool, and I like the the stuff they're doing with the like texture now on the armor and everything, and like the tiny little detail that like it almost is like a fun little surprise, like when you get a figure in front of the lens,
Hmm.
because I shoot this, I go into I open it up in Lightroom, just like the editing software I use, and you see all of a sudden you see all the tiny little speckles in the armor like coming to life, and like the texture that you don't even realize is there.
When I did the breakdown on this character
Hmm.
and was looking at it, you could see like the original armor. It looks similar to it, but just like you're saying, with way more texture. And it's actually,
Yeah.
I think the proportions are better. In certain areas, it's smaller. Certain areas, it's bigger. But the
Hmm.
texture is really the thing that kind of brings it out and just makes it look aged and beaten and
Yeah.
brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, a hundred. I mean, like, I think the pauldrons are a really good example of that. Where you're talking about the scale of them too. They like changed it just a little bit, where it just like it feels a little bit more grounded in
Hmm.
like a really cool way. And like, yeah, this figure is probably, maybe I should do a shot where he's fighting Gideon to like fight for figure of the year, because this thing
That'd be
is so
cool.
cool, and the expressive heads are.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like this thing comes with three heads, and as
Hmm.
a photographer, like what goes through your head when you see like, are you thinking, hey, I gotta, I want to do a couple different shots because of the different heads, or I've got a perfect shot in mind where this head's going to be great for it, but then maybe something else for a different head.
Yeah, this came from like I was messing with him on, usually the figure I want to photograph next is like always sitting on my desk. So like right now we got this little dude. He's
Gotcha.
hanging out.
Yep.
Um
So you kind of
and
mess around and play around with it for a
yeah,
little bit and kind of get to know it.
yeah, and then oftentimes a pose will be like, "Oh, this is great." Or like just looking at their accessories and being like, "What is the world that this guy lives in?"
Mm-hmm.
Um So for Urzok, it was with the new like range of motion,
Mm-hmm.
he can like really rest that big like sword
Which is just
on
the
his
like the most
chest.
brutal sword we've ever
Hmm.
seen. Like it is
Yeah.
so cool. I'm glad that you had that highlighted in this picture because I was like, this thing's awesome.
Yeah, so it was like, and it just looks so heavy. And so the
Hmm.
idea of like I really wanted to like come across with that as like he's ready to charge into battle. He's yelling at people to charge, but there's no way he's lifting that with one arm up in the air. He's gonna
Right.
rest and save his energy. Um, but yeah, and then on your point of the expressive heads, yeah, it's just like it opens up so many options and ideas of like how can I, because you can shoot somebody with a neutral expression fighting and they just look focused and intense, but
Mm-mm.
then it's like, okay, if I have somebody screaming, why are they screaming? Are they screaming to try to scare somebody off? Are they um screaming because they're just like they're at their breaking point and like I want to like pose them where they're like looking up at the sky? Or in this case, is it like, a commander like summoning his soldiers to war, which was the idea of this one.
I like that you have the Legion Builder Goblin as well as Gonks in the same photo.
Hmm.
I don't see that happen very often, but like they've got the same helmet, so it looks like they belong to the same crew, but they're clearly different. One's a 2.0,
Hmm.
one's a 1.0.
Yeah.
And I just I love the way that this looks here.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a really fun one. This was actually one I was talking about of having like that's that ruin set. So they're standing in front of those stairs, and then
Hmm.
behind it is another set of castle walls that I like propped up to fill the whole frame. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Very cool. So tell me about this guy that's kind of snoozing here. What's going on here?
Yeah, so this is that Ranger of the North figure from another one of those third parties.
Hmm.
Um, and this was actually, again, same diorama, this time um, sitting on the ground uh, next to or leaning up against the stairs. And this is one of those Alex loves shooting people next to a campfire. So the idea was is the end of the night. He's like resting. He's got his sword at the ready if he needs to be, but he's like slowly coming off to sleep. So got like the faintest little bit of orange light, um, and just enough to like sort of light up his face and catch on the sword, and then just like moonlight from above to kind of like set the tone of where he is.
Well, it looks like his face is probably right on that third, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So again, trying to compose it, and it kind of there's the concept in just art in general of like leading lines. So like where are the almost the hidden lines in the frame that draw your eye. And so with this, it's almost like a pyramid or triangle that kind of like forms where the frame's almost split in half. And like even if you look at the bottom, your eye is naturally going to pull you up towards his face. If you look over to the left, you're going to follow the contour of his body. It'll pull you up towards his face. So the
Interesting.
idea behind the composition there.
That's a lot of thought that goes into that I'm guessing most people don't even consider. So
Well, that's the goal, right? Like if you're composing things well, people should just be like, that feels good to me,
right.
but I don't need to think about why. I'm just gonna sit here
Gotcha.
and enjoy it.
Yeah, and once again, another thing that I think sells a figure like this would be just a cool product shot. Like if I don't
Mhm.
if I don't know this line, because it is kind of a an indie line. If I don't know
Mhm.
this line, I don't know this figure, I would see this and go, oh, that's cool. Where do I buy that? So
Yeah, and I think with a lot of those third-party companies, they're always popping up with different names. So it's always like kind of scary to like order from them because you're
right.
like, I have no reference for quality. I have oftentimes no reference for scale. This guy is way shorter than you think he would be. Um, so
But
yeah, it's
sometimes
always a
you just
little
hit a
bit
home
dicey.
run. So
Yeah, exactly. Like that Gandalf
mhm.
is phenomenal.
I didn't get it, but I've heard great things from people. So
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
all right, get a couple other photos here. Look,
Yeah.
I kind of thought that maybe this was the same background, but I wasn't positive. So let me know if I'm right on that.
Ooh, this is not. This is the other side of. So on the photo on the left, this is the other side of that triangle wall that we saw
Okay.
earlier with the Mask of the Red Death.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought a diorama from Articulated Empire at Legion's Con last year that kind of just magnetizes together, one of those. And so the castle wall isn't long enough, so I just literally just stacked the floor of that diorama next to it to kind of create the proper background.
Beautiful. And then
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the snag is holding a carver light. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one that got unfortunately, I it underwent some damage, but I think it actually now it looks like lived in. It looks
Yeah,
like it's a weathered torch.
that's cool. I love that character, that snag character. Like,
He's
there's
so
some cool
cool.
goblins, but I think this might be the coolest.
Yeah, he's like you can tell he's quick, he's nimble, he's stealthy, and he's probably not up to much good.
Yeah, he's very sketchy.
Yeah,
He's very
he's really
shady.
sketchy.
There's nothing going on when he's around. So
Yeah.
and then the Stavros just looking like super imposing here, especially with this kind of like upward angle shot that you've got towards him. With the Krotos there, because Krotos is a smaller figure anyway. You put Stavros there, and then the angle that you're shooting just makes him look like a freaking beast.
Yeah, that was the thought whenever I was trying to figure out who to put with him. I was like, who is the like sweetest, most innocent Legion's character that I could stand up next to this guy? The idea of this was because this was the BBTS figure.
Mm-hmm.
I had this idea of like he is the protector of the pile of loot.
That's awesome.
So the idea being that like this is the entrance to the pile of loot, and like Krotos is like coming up to claim his pile of loot.
Yeah,
And
you can only get it
Stavros
if you
has to
give
be.
him $4.
He's like, where are your taxes and shipping, Krotos?
Yeah, and possibly tariffs. So
yeah. Surcharge may apply.
Now I've got some in here that I was just like, I can't put it multiple photos on the same because it just looks too awesome. And this was one of those where I was like, I gotta give this a full screen. So I love the Templars. I think Enoch's amazing. I think Elijah's amazing. And this shot here, Especially the way that you've got that skeleton posed. It feels very Ray Harryhausen, just like stop motion animation is what this feels like to me. And I just absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think this shot like is like a preview, or it's just such a good indicator of like where the line is at and like where it's going. Like ever since the Valiant Knight, like the posability of these things is just like so insane and like through the roof. And you combine that with like the crazy paintwork and texture that we've been talking about, and then like the wired,
Now the soft goods, yeah.
yeah, the wired soft goods. I know. Have you come around?
I was never the thing that people give me crap about the soft good thing all the time, and the thing that I never like, and I still don't like, is like when they do superheroes like Mezco, and they put them in a full like almost like a spandex looking suit, and it looks like
Yeah.
pajamas, like because the problem I've had with soft goods in the past is when it's on a 1/12 scale, but it looks like our scale, right?
Ours, yeah,
And
yeah.
so if the stitching's not small enough, or if it, the fabric doesn't look right, like that's
Right.
the problems that I have. But when it's done well, like this, when you've got the really tight, small
Yeah.
stitches, when it feels like it was sewn in their world, not in our world, dude, there's nothing better.
No, I'm giving you a hard time, but I totally agree. Like the smaller in scale you go, the tighter it's got to be, or it's just increasingly obvious. But yeah,
It's
the
kind
idea
of,
of this one
like the
was
same
like,
with the articulation, right? Like,
right.
how much articulation do you need versus what can you have and still maintain the illusion that this isn't an action figure? Because like when I look at this skeleton, I see maybe the arm that's got the sword. I see possibly on his elbow, the inside of the elbow,
Yeah.
I see a little bit of a joint there. But I think that's the only joint that I see on this. The rest of it looks like it could just be a skeleton,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily have to be that there's joints in these places. And you look at Elijah and you don't see any. Like there's
No, not at
yeah,
all. Yeah. It's crazy. No, they do such an amazing job of like finding and hitting that balance. And like hiding joints in the sculpt work too, like that kneecap on the armor, like prevents you from really seeing anything.
Yeah. And I feel like when I see stuff like this, like I could show this to people and tell them it's a video game or it's a new movie coming out, and they'd
Yeah.
be like, okay, I believe it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be toys. So
Yeah.
it's cool that it
Yeah.
is, but it doesn't have to
Right.
be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It's awesome that it is, because it means we're making, our own version of cinema at home.
for sure. Yeah, and the pose on this skeleton, I'll be honest, like after this, I'm probably gonna have to immediately like pose one of my skeletons like this because that looks amazing.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really wanted to do with where we're at with articulation and with like the wires and the soft goods. Like that was essentially the whole goal of this, was like, how can I make something like super fluid and in the middle of action? And it's
Yeah,
really
it's
hard
like
to,
straight out of Jason and the Argonauts. It's like
yeah,
perfect. So
thanks. Yeah. I find it really hard to pose two characters sword fighting in a convincing way. So this was the first time where I was like, you know what, this feels believable.
yeah, I mean, it feels like the right motions and stuff. And I know, like if I'm, typically the only time I'm posing and taking a photo of something is if I'm doing a review on it or if I just did a custom or whatever. And sometimes I'll have to kind of like fake swing a sword or fake like block with a shield to go, okay, if I was doing this, if I was really blocking with a shield, where would my hips be? Where would my leg be? Where would my other arm be? And kind of think through that in my head. And as I look at this, it totally feels natural.
I mean, I think I did both of these poses in my office before,
I
as I
wouldn't be
was like trying
surprised.
to like, especially when it comes to feet, because you're like, okay, my power is going to come from here, but I would need stability here, and then my torso would twist. Like, yeah, I think anyone that's ever ever posed anything with like a certain level of focus has ended up, fighting ghosts in their
I
in their
didn't used to do
domicile.
that. It was funny because my son came to visit. My stepson is into legions, and
Hmm.
he's in his 30s, so it's not like a young kid. But he came to visit, and he put some of my figures in poses that I was like, these are phenomenal. Like I'm never going to change these, right? Like he was just playing
Hmm.
around with them, and I put them on my shelf, and they're still in those poses to today. And I asked him, I was like, how did you get him in such awesome poses? And he's like, well, I just made the motion myself, like physically, and then I just copied that on the figure. And I was like, that's brilliant. I never would have thought of that. But
Yeah.
it's funny though, as I talk to photographers now, and like all of them say that, like, oh yeah, I'm sitting there in my room doing this and doing that and sword fighting, and yeah, it's
It's all
pretty
part of the
cool.
fun.
There you go. All right, now this lady here, yeah, she's definitely got a lot going on. I would say, in terms of what you get in a figure package,
Hmm.
she might have like the most cool stuff in this
Yeah.
package this year, and that Chimera is just awesome. But I love
Yeah,
this
it's
shot.
wild.
Another one where I wanted to kind of give it that full screen action.
Hmm.
Um, just kind of this outdoor nighttime. Just once again, like the snag, like it feels like she's up to no good, but I don't know exactly what she's got going on. But yeah, really cool. So tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah. So I love this figure, but because of there's so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like I knew like you're not gonna if I tried to if I tried to do something like I did with Elijah with this,
Mm-hmm.
it was it was not gonna end
Like
well
an
for me
action shot.
emotionally. Yeah, like lean into I think about the thing I like to tell myself when I'm like figuring out like photos, whether it's for like toy photography or it's like looking at a landscape or whatever, it's like what does the subject want to be? Like how do you actually like lean into that? And like with her, she looks the best when she's got all of her stuff on her and around her.
Mm-hmm.
Um and so she doesn't actually need the like crazy dynamic motion or whatever. You just like you want to you want to see her in her environment. Like you see this character, you're like, what is she up to?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's kind of where the idea led me to like, well, what is she like? What if she's like out on patrol? Like she's almost like walking her dog, but it's also kind of like, walking the perimeter of her lair, as it were. So put the castle wall. This is the same one from our Mask of the Red Death in the back, and then
Mm-hmm.
now we have this like walking the dog scene. So light up above for capturing that like moonlight effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then um I really wanted to have this be landscape and wide, which means I needed a lot in the background. So we just grabbed a bunch of those vines from Michael's again that were in that uh uh
Which look
Jesse
amazing in
Scrumble
the
song.
dark.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's just like just blurred enough, just dark
Yeah.
enough. Have them back there, and then that's just my wall behind it, but like trying to block the light so that it doesn't get back there, so that way it's just dark. Um and yeah.
See, I try to, when I look at a photo, try to like, because I don't read. So
Hmm.
like I know sometimes photographers will take a photo and then in the description they'll kind of tell what's supposed to be going on, but I don't read. So I'll just look at the photo and try to guess myself what was going on. And like
Yeah.
in her bio, it talks about her controlling all of these undead
Hmm.
creatures, including the Turpiculi. So
Hmm.
in my mind, when I looked at this, I'm thinking she's getting ready to go release the Turpiculi, like they're like
Oh, I
caged up
love that.
somewhere or something, and so
Yeah.
she is taking the Chimera with her, and they're going to whatever area that the Turpiculi are kind of
Hmm.
held in, and she's getting ready to release them, and so that was kind of what I had going on in my head.
I That is way cooler than my idea of her walking a dog. So we're gonna go with that. I might have to go edit the caption on that post now.
Well, and,
Um,
and I think that's the one of the cool things about toy photography, and specifically like you had said about Mythic Legions, because people aren't 100% locked into the lore. Um,
mhm.
you can look at this and make up whatever story you want, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
And then probably the last thing to call out on here is yet again we have the frame within a frame. So using that technique to kind of pull your eye there.
Gotcha. Very cool. Next, another one. Wanted to give it its due. Yeah, I got the Marley here, and I see a lot of people doing the open mouth head. You went with the more serious kind of head here, and I feel like it kind of gives it a more intense vibe. So
yeah, the very like stoic, the very stoic, like yeah. This one,
well, and even the way that you have the lighting and the angle, it like makes these shadows underneath his eyes that like make him really intense looking.
Yeah, yeah. So anytime you want to like make somebody look intimidating, it's like always like they always say shoot low and shoot up, and they'll seem bigger, they'll seem intimidating. You can do that with lighting too, where like lighting coming from below is a very unforgiving look. It doesn't make you look approachable or attractive. So you can kind of use that to almost like lean into the horror aspect of him. But yeah, the idea was just having him scrolling through the street, and then like the cold winter night just like counterbalanced with like this like one little light of hope that he's carrying in his hand.
And what are you using for a background here?
This is entirely digital. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this was shot against a digital backdrop. But I think this one was, I try to use either my own photos from like travel photography and that sort of stuff, and if I don't have something, then I'll go and generate something that kind of matches the scene. And so this was a generated background.
Looks awesome. And last one, this is just a fun kind of mix of lines. I just thought this one had a lot of fun stuff going on. So yeah, tell us about the idea of this.
Yeah. This was I think, so this is the Mezco Indiana Jones. And so I think once he came in, or whenever I knew he was shipping, we had the gods already. And I was like, well, he's got to, the fantastical always happens to Indiana Jones. What if he does go into a lair where like Anubis' corporeal form is like summoned? And again, going back to the expressive heads, once I like got Anubis out and was like looking, I was like, oh, he's like so terrifying with that like screaming head or roaring head. So the idea here was, yeah, India's exploring this temple and finds a little bit more than expected, and the orange light at the bottom of this that's like lighting him up to give you more detail and kind of capture more detail on the tomb or pedestal or whatever you would call that. It's supposed to be like a torch that's like he's dropped or fallen. So yeah, and again, this is that extreme sets ancient Egyptian
Gotcha
tomb diorama.
Yeah, I mean he looks. You can't see his face here, but just the pose and everything, he looks completely terrified.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's awesome, and just a fun way to when you get something like this and you go, these two things are from two completely different worlds. But we can throw them together and it's going to make sense. Like I don't think anybody would see this. It's not like putting Luke Skywalker in Masters of the Universe, right? Like this feels like you can definitely tell a story in your head where this could happen.
Yeah, it's like the difference, like it's having something cohesive that doesn't feel like a mashup,
right?
And I think Figura Obscura is like perfect for that too, right? Because they're all rooted in real world.
It's my absolute favorite
mythology.
line that they do. Like I just love the whole event nature of it, that, you know, they do the tease, everybody does their little speculation, you get up the next morning, you know, purchase it before you even see what it is.
Yeah.
And then you go back to see what you ordered, you watch Bill's review of it, and then within like a few weeks, you know, for the most part, obviously Jersey Devil, they were waiting for it to get in, but for the most part, within like 2-3 weeks, you've got that figure in hand. It just,
Yeah, it's awesome.
it's so cool.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the next Egyptian gods. That I am so stoked to see what they pick there.
I am also looking forward to that, but I want to see other pantheons too. Like I can't wait to see,
I feel you.
Like their version of like a Zeus, or their version of a Thor, or you know, something like that. Like would be freaking cool. Yeah, like even like a Hercules, like a you know, Mythic Legion Hercules. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or
guess
like
it would
with
be figure
the
obscura, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
like with the Reign of the Beast stuff they announced last year too. Now you have this like a lot of parts that are kind of Aztec-y or Mesoamerican. So like, is there something they do over there with that? Like the possibilities are so endless.
and that's the other thing too. Like, you know, for a lot of years they were outsourcing a lot of work, right? They were working for Mattel, they were working for this guy, they're working for Super 7, you know, and then they also started the Mythic Legion thing, but that's really all they had. Now you've got Mythic Legion, Infinite Legion, Figure Obscura, Cosmic Legion, you know, the graveyard stuff. And so it's like
legacies.
Yeah. And so you could have new parts introduced in any of it that you feel like that's not going to cross over, and then it does cross over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I see a new figure, I try to look at it from a customizing standpoint and go, what else are they going to do with that part? Like, where are we going to see that?
Because they're so creative.
Right.
They use their parts library so well. It's fascinating.
So cool. Well, thank you very much for popping in and talking to us about the toy photography. It looks amazing. Definitely follow him. Instagram's there at the bottom of the screen. Any other tips that you would have for folks as they're, you know, maybe trying to play with their toys, have fun, do some photography?
Use what you have and just like focus on the enjoyment of it. Like the biggest thing that makes a photograph good, people will say lighting, people will say like, you know, composition, those sorts of things, but like story trumps all. And like if you've got an interesting story to tell that you're able to capture into one single frame, that's like the best. That is going to reign above all things because it is the most impactful in my opinion. So like if you have an interesting story, an idea, or a pose, and you're like, oh, this is such an intriguing thing for this character to be in, like capture it and with what you have available and just like share it, because it'll probably resonate with other people.
And I would say that last part is a key part too, as far as sharing it, because I think some people, you know, think, oh, well, my stuff's not good enough, or nobody else is going to like this or whatever, and so then they don't. And I think it's important to do that, because people will let you know what things they do like or what things they don't like.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some sort of, you know, positive feedback from it, and you may not know. I mean, I know, like in the customizing world, I was talking to Eric LeBron a little bit ago, amazing customizer in you know, the Mythic Legion community, and you know, he was telling me that like sometimes a figure that he puts, you know, very little time into, like it was much easier, and and really he didn't think much about it, blows up and people just absolutely love it. And then another one that he just slaves over and puts all this time and effort into kind of gets overlooked. You never really know what's going to land with people. So yeah, make sure you share whatever that you're doing. I think that's a key part.
Yeah, and there's nothing cooler too of like, let's say you start sharing photos today, a year from now, being able to like scroll through your grid on Instagram and see like, wow, how much have I developed? And you're never going to be satisfied with what where you're at today, and that's a sign that you're constantly growing, right? So like capture the experience, and totally agree.
For sure. Well, thank you for popping on. I'm going to put you backstage if you've got to run. I totally understand. If not, hang out and I'll be right back with you.
Cool. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
a
me,
lot.
Curtis.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that is another How'd They Do That. Alex's work is phenomenal. Make sure that you're following him. Instagram's right there. And take some of those lessons, have fun with your toys, play around with them. I love the fact that he said that he's, has a figure on his desk for a little bit before he actually shoots it. That makes a lot of sense to me because, I feel like, I used to be one of the folks that when a new wave came in, I would open everything all at once. And there is something cool about that. But there's also something to be said for actually taking some time with a certain figure and just getting to know it, playing around with it, posing it, just enjoying it for a little bit. And you never know, something may strike you that you go, wow, this is really a cool pose, or this is a cool idea that I have. And then, you may want to shoot it. So make sure you're following him. Make sure you're also taking some photography yourself, or doing some customizing, or doing pop and swap, or just playing with your toys, whatever, have some fun. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, there is a whole playlist of the How'd They Do That. So make sure you check that out. There's playlists for the other things on the channel. If you want to subscribe, be a member, it's $1.99 a month. We do giveaways, do early access to videos. Once again, thank you for watching. And until next time, folks, keep creating.